It was close to midnight on a Saturday when I got the ping. The city streets were quieter than usual, the kind of stillness that makes even familiar neighborhoods feel uneasy. Neon lights flickered outside closed shops. Stray cats darted across the alleys, and rain lingered in the air though the clouds had not yet broken. I had been driving for hours, weary but unwilling to log off until I got one more ride. And when the request came through, the pickup location startled me. It said Crescent Hill Cemetery, and at first I thought it was a glitch. No one orders a car from a cemetery at night, not unless they are lost, drunk, or pulling a prank. But the fare was decent and the destination showed a nearby address. So I convinced myself it was just someone who had wandered too far from a party. I accepted, turned my car toward Crescent Hill, and tried not to think about the way the name itself seemed to carry weight, like a place already belonging to silence and shadows. The gates of the cemetery loomed tall and black, the iron bars twisted with age. Streetlights barely touched the rows of headstones inside. The place seemed to swallow the glow. I rolled up slowly, headlights cutting through the mist that was beginning to rise from the damp ground. I saw no one at first, only stone markers standing in rows like broken teeth. I almost canceled, ready to mark the ride as no-show, when suddenly, from the path between the graves, a figure appeared, moving steadily toward me. It was a woman dressed in white, her gown long and flowing, brushing against the wet grass. Her hair hung in damp strands across her pale face. She walked with purpose, no hesitation, as though she had been expecting me. She came right up to the passenger door and without a word opened it, slid in, and folded her hands neatly in her lap. She did not look at me, only straight ahead, eyes fixed on the windshield as though she saw something beyond it. My skin prickled, but I forced a smile. "Good evening, where to?" I asked, glancing at my phone. The destination was already entered, an old house on the outskirts of town, one I had never been to but had passed before, a house rumored by kids to be haunted, its windows boarded, its paint stripped, its roof caved in on one side. But I told myself people lived everywhere. Maybe she was going to meet someone there. Maybe it wasn't abandoned after all. "All right, here we go," I said, trying to sound casual, but my voice shook slightly. The car felt colder than before, as though her presence had dropped the temperature. And when I adjusted the rearview mirror to look at her, I realized I could not quite see her face. The reflection was blurred, distorted, as though fog had settled inside the mirror itself. We drove through the silent streets, the city growing thinner, houses turning to warehouses, then to stretches of empty road. She said nothing, not a single sound. I could not even hear her breathing, only the faint rustle of fabric whenever she shifted slightly in her seat. I tried to break the silence once more. "So, late-night visit?" But her lips didn't move, her eyes didn't blink, and I realized with a chill that she might not have heard me at all. I gripped the wheel tighter, the road ahead bending into darker lanes where trees leaned close, their branches tangling above like claws, and soon the destination came into view. The house sitting alone at the end of the lane, its porch sagging, windows dark, roofline sharp against the cloudy sky. The GPS chimed softly. "You have arrived." But I didn't want to stop. Every instinct screamed at me to keep driving. Yet her head turned slowly toward me for the first time, her eyes pale and unblinking, her lips parting to whisper, "Here." The word was dry, cracked, like the sound of leaves being crushed. I swallowed and pulled into the gravel drive, headlights sweeping across the front of the house, revealing more decay, wood rotted and warped, door slightly ajar, waiting like a mouth that had been left open. "Are you sure this is the right place?" I asked weakly, but she did not answer. She only opened the door and stepped out, moving with that same steady grace, gown trailing along the gravel. She began walking toward the porch, but then she stopped, turned back, and looked at me, her gaze pinning me to the seat. She raised one pale hand and beckoned. I shook my head, muttering to myself, "No way, no way," but my body betrayed me. I found my hand reaching to unbuckle the seatbelt, my legs moving as though pulled by strings. I stepped out into the damp night air, the smell of earth and mildew heavy around me. the house looming larger with every step. She was already at the door, pushing it open without effort, and inside the darkness yawned wide, swallowing her figure until she became a pale shimmer within it. I wanted to run, to bolt back to the car and drive away, but when I turned, the car was gone. The driveway was empty. Only the house and the trees remained. My heart hammered and I stumbled after her, calling out, "Wait, please," though I didn't know why I followed. Inside, the air was damp, the walls peeling, wallpaper sagging. The floor creaked under my weight, but not under hers. She floated more than walked, leading me down a narrow hallway lined with doors that stood slightly ajar, revealing glimpses of dark rooms, shadows shifting, whispers curling out like smoke. I heard faint voices, indistinct but urgent, as if dozens of people spoke just beyond the walls. I wanted to cover my ears but couldn't. I was trapped in the sound, and then she stopped at the last door, turned to face me, and finally, I saw her clearly. Her face was pale but cracked like porcelain, pieces of skin flaking away, eyes hollow but burning with pale fire, and she smiled faintly, whispering, "You brought me home." Before I could react, the door swung wide, revealing a room filled with figures, dozens of them, all dressed in white, all seated in silence, their faces hidden by shadows. But I could feel their eyes on me, could feel their hunger. I stumbled back, shaking my head. But the woman stepped behind me and gently pushed, her touch colder than ice. "Stay," she murmured, and the figures rose slowly in unison, chairs scraping, the sound piercing in the silence. I tried to run, but my feet would not obey. My vision swam, and the last thing I remember was their pale hands reaching out, dozens of them, pulling me into the dark. I woke hours later, or maybe days, slumped behind the wheel of my car, parked outside the gates of Crescent Hill Cemetery. Dawn breaking gray and weak over the stones. My phone buzzed, a new ride request blinking. But when I checked the trip history, there was nothing from last night. No pickup, no drop-off, no record of the woman in white. But on the passenger seat lay a long strand of damp black hair. And in the rearview mirror, for just a moment, I thought I saw her sitting there, watching me, before she vanished with the rising sun. And I realized with sick certainty that the rides I take at night may not always belong to the living, and that some passengers are not seeking destinations, but companions.